Well, welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Right Down the Street. I'm Brian Barnett, Mayor of the City of Rochester Hills, and your host for this podcast. Right Down the Street is a really exciting opportunity for us to tell the stories of the people and the places and the things making news in our community. And we've met some incredible people along this journey, and we thank you for joining us to meet another great group of individuals and a really interesting and important topic here as we head into the month of May. We're here at the Resiliency Center, and I'm joined by two fantastic people who I've gotten to know over the course of the last year. Here to welcome Jamie Ayers, the Director of Victim Services at Common Ground, and Dr. Phillip Hunter, Director of the Common Ground Crisis Residential Unit. I had to look at your titles because they're pretty long, but we're here in Mental Health Awareness Month, and you two are really experts and have really wrapped your hands and hearts around the city of Rochester Hills. Tell us, I guess, first, maybe this building that we're in and a little bit about its mission. And I'll start with you, Jimmy. First of all, thanks for being on the program, both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. So the Resiliency Center is a result from the splash pad incident that happened a year ago, this coming June. Mm-hmm. And we're here to support the community in their healing journey. And we're in the community for a few years. And our job is to open up as many different pathways to healing because everyone is on a different type of journey. And so there's no wrong door here. If there's any sort of support, even if it's just to have someone listen or even to come in and do a craft with, your kids, we're here to listen, we're here to support, we're here to provide whatever the community needs for the next few years.
And Phillip, tell us a little bit about your role and some things you do.
Yeah, so the Crisis Residential Unit is a short-term voluntary psychiatric respite program. So by and large, folks can access treatment throughout the county in a number of different ways for crisis services. And sometimes we get stabilized, things are working well, we're starting to feel better, but I'm not quite ready to go home. Or the home that's waiting for me needs a little TLC, and maybe that starts and ends with me. And so the program that I work in offers a place for people to gather for a little while before that next longer term step is taken.
Yeah, super important. And we're here at a very specific place in the city, not too far from the splash pad. Tell us kind of where we're at and why you picked this location.
Sure. We wanted to be close to the Brooklands neighborhood. Walking distance or bike ride so that it's easy access for people to come anytime. Plus, we wanted to feel a part of the neighborhood so that people felt comfortable coming here.
Now, obviously, our most memorable experience with this, with tragedy, with a significant community experience is, as you mentioned, the splash pad shooting, which we're coming up on the 1 year commemoration mark of that very tragic day. I remember where I was, and I remember what I began to think when I was called by the sheriff's department that we had an active shooter at the splash pad. And I began to think about the logistics and the messaging and, kind of the immediate response of sort of on the scene first responders. When you hear something like that happen, of course, the splash pad, or when you hear other things happen around the country, as unfortunately they're so regular, where does your mind go first? What is the first thing you think of?
I think community. And of course, the community starts with those folks immediately affected by it. And then you stay there long enough and you realize that victim is always plural, that there's a community connected to each person involved. And there's a community sitting at home and watching these kind of things. And I remember where I was exactly when I got the news. And at the same time, I was trying to hold space for what must be going through the hearts and the minds of the families affected, and then all the families affected just by watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first thought is the victims, and then because I've been through other tragedies in Michigan, knowing the ripple effects and how wide this goes, and knowing that the community has a long healing process, So we were part of the initial response and at the hospitals with the victims. So they're our first thought. And then start working on long-term care for them almost immediately, making sure that this community and anyone who is impacted has the support they need.
Yeah, I have said this publicly, but maybe not on a podcast. We are so grateful for particularly you, Jamie, and the support that you provided, because I think having not gone through this personally in a leadership role, where I was, had some responsibility of decision making, I didn't know where to turn for a lot of these, really tough decisions. And I think one of the things that you helped me and the rest of our leadership team realize is that this isn't an incident that is over in 24 hours or 72 hours. Of course, immediately there were cameras from all over the country there, news reports from all over the world, a tremendous glaring light. But I think your focus pretty quickly is on, as soon as that goes away, what is the support that is really needed in a community? And I think that's really important. That really opened my eyes to that. Is that just a process learned over, unfortunately, going through these so many times?
Yeah, it really is. I was impacted by the Oxford High School shooting, and so as a community member, realizing how much it does impact even people who just lived in the town but weren't anywhere near it, and seeing how everyone has some sort of connection, and realizing that this is so much bigger. And like you said, it's not over in 48 hours. People don't just move on. It becomes a part of them. And so just unfortunately, it's from lessons learned and making sure that we normalize that it's okay to not be okay, and that it takes a long time to heal. Some people are fine, and that's okay too. And just kind of making sure that we support people. So the people who are fine sometimes think, why am I fine? I shouldn't be fine. My neighbor's not fine. And then the neighbor may think, why am I not fine? My neighbor's fine. And so just, it's a real honor to be a part of these communities, and making sure that we are able to support them in whatever fashion that they need, and normalizing that their experience is normal. They're having a normal reaction to an abnormal situation.
Yeah. Jamie said something that I think many people have heard: it's okay to not be okay. Sort of an easy thing to say,
Sure.
but a challenge to live out. What are some of the misconceptions that you see that people have about mental health, whether it's mental health in general or going through a situation like this, a tragic and traumatic situation?
It's such an important question, Mayor. I think that reaching out for help, shutting down pathways to help become normalized so fast. And when we grow up with any misconceptions about what health and wellness feels like, that it's easy to misunderstand that mental health is health, and mental health care is health care. And so when rubbing some dirt on it and just sucking it up, these things don't apply. And so while things like anxiety and depression never feel good, they're incredibly normal. And so one of my favorite responses to these types of things is that every single day we get opportunities to reflect on how we're doing, to be able to do an inventory of, am I doing all right? What's not going well for me? What is going really well for me? Every time somebody says, Mayor, how you doing? It's an invitation, but the response that we give is automatic. It's, I'm fine.
Great. Yeah.
I'm great, I'm fine. If you're actually curious in how I'm doing, it's probably going to take a little bit longer than a one-word answer. And so my thought in trying to normalize that conversation we have with ourselves about, is what I'm feeling normal, even if I don't like how I'm feeling? It's to slow down long enough to actually answer that question and reflect on, well, gee, I haven't really thought about it. It's about lunch. It's a perfect time for me to do an inventory on what's going great and what's not feeling so wonderful for me. And maybe that creates an opportunity to connect or to ask for help or to listen to somebody else.
Yeah, there's, I think, a lot of societal pressure, right, to give that, great, doing, couldn't be better sort of response, that glib, quick response. And I think that's what people expect too, right? I mean, I say how you're doing. I don't really want to hear sometimes if it's a really long, bad answer, and that's a terrible position to be. I think that what you said is really important. how are you at that? If I asked you, how are you doing today? I mean, are you going to give me that answer?
Well, how much time do you have? I think that it's like exercising any other muscle. Because like probably so many folks who have had this thought, I also am very quick to just, I'm fine. There's other people going in my life that I care about. That's where my focus and energy needs to go. And we start doing this comparing and contrasting game to where I can't be depressed because I know so-and-so over there, and that's what depression looks like. And that is not what I really see when I look in the mirror, so I must be doing okay. So how do I do? I'm doing my best. It's a practice, it's a lived conversation that I have to where every time I catch myself blowing off an honest answer, I try my best to double back and say, even if I'm not comfortable sharing the specifics, thank you for asking me. I'm doing all right, but I appreciate that you asked. And just that, it's for me. It's not just a kindness to the other person, it's a kindness to me. And that's something that you can build momentum on. And I've been practicing for a few decades, and it's been all right.
Yeah, you've got that soothing voice that I'm just like, I'm ready to tell you all sorts of stuff. Jimmy, heard Dr. Phillip talk about taking an inventory. This is Mental Health Month, and some people, might be wondering, what are some easy things for me to do that I could maybe kind of start, maybe sort of like starting an exercise routine or starting to eat better. What are some things that, some quick hitters that people might think about implementing this month that might carry on moving forward?
Sure. Yeah, it can be, I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to it be this big thing, like exercise. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to start running, where it can be something very small. And I heard someone talking about when you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth, as soon as you're done, give yourself a high five in the mirror and say, you're doing awesome. And I thought that is such a unique thing to do. And it's something small where when you're looking at a mirror and you're giving yourself a high five, what do you do when you give someone a high five? You're smiling. And so kind of changing your morning routine of, I'm going to look at myself in the mirror smiling, and kind of changing that mindset. So it could be something that's just as small as that. And then that can move into bigger things depending on what you're experiencing at the time. And I'll let Phillip fill in too.
Yeah, I think that just consistent with the idea that mental health care is health care, there's a few really easy to forget things. Whether I've got a kidney issue going on, I'm suffering from migraines, I have something profound, like I have cancer diagnosis, or I'm just not feeling great. You talk to any medical professional, you're going to hear, make sure you're sleeping well, try to exercise, and please hydrate. And those are things that are so easy to forget, that just having a good sleep routine, because...
I feel this is very pointed. I feel you're coming at me right now. I don't do that well.
Did my research. It doesn't change the things that I'm anxious about, or the things that are keeping me up at night. But maybe it gives me the opportunity to be better prepared when I wake up the next day to tackle them, if I choose to. And if I'm not ready, that's all right too. But just by making sure I get a good 8 hours of sleep, I'm having 8 glasses of water a day, and as best as I can, I'm getting my steps in and exercising. They're really easy to forget things because we think that, well, it's mental health. My only pathway to change is, well, let me talk and let me listen. And of course, those are really important. But things you can start doing today: hydrate, exercise, go to bed, wake up when on a schedule.
Yeah. So obviously talk a little bit about what you do professionally, but I want to hear a little bit about how you got into this profession, because you have to have a certain kind of heart for this, and a certain kind of passion. Is this what you wanted to do, Jamie, when you were 10? Has this been a career passion, or was there a moment in your life that you said, I really like this, I could see myself doing this professionally?
I did not see myself, even 5 years ago, did not see myself in this position. I came from development, so fundraising was something that I was good at and passionate about. When Oxford happened, I had a personal connection to one of the students who had passed, and I jumped in at the Legacy Center as a volunteer. And through that work, really found a passion of I want to really care for my community. And this is going to be a long time of caring for them and really making sure that everyone had the things they needed. And through that, I actually met my now boss, Janet Sarkos, and she said, we're opening a resiliency center and we're hiring. And I actually pursued that and said, I want that job. And so that's how I got into this work and just really realizing I want to care for victims of crime, and make sure that they have what they need. I wish I had known about Common Ground and their resources when I was younger and struggling myself. I am also a survivor of crime, and so realizing, wow, there's so much out there and people don't know. And I want people to know there's help out there.
Yeah, first of all, super interesting because it was kind of a late career move for you, and obviously, many of us in the community are familiar in this area with the Oxford. Front page of the paper today was the freshmen are now graduating this year, so the story continues. Yeah, super interesting. I didn't realize that. That's great. And your past or your interest, and how'd you get into this?
I knew early on that I just wanted to be a helper, and I didn't really know what that meant, and I think I'm still kind of defining it as I get older. But I was really interested in psychology. So first C I ever got, go figure. And I think how could I struggle so much with something that was so interesting to me? Yeah. And I realized because I wasn't quite ready to do my own work yet at the time. And I started doing my own work and talking to folks in places like this and realizing, gee, I don't know this person from Adam, and what an impact they had on me. And I wanted more, and so I went to graduate school, and I went to graduate school again, and I ended up where I am now. And so I think that the way in which we reach out and offer help, it's a matching game.
Sure.
And that's something that I'm always interested in talking about, of making sure that we match supports and available services to the very specific idiosyncratic needs that we all have. And it's something that I know saved my life. And it's really wonderful to be able to be on the other side of the office now.
Yeah, I imagine that helping people is the great upside of doing what you do. And I would imagine that's got to be one of the reasons that you keep doing it. As we sort of wrap to a close, one of the things that I'd love your opinion on, as we, come closer to this 1 year anniversary, how should the community market? How should the community appropriately recognize what happened in a thoughtful manner? I mean, not so much think city, but think community members. What is the appropriate response?
I think the most important thing to know is that whatever you want to do that day is absolutely appropriate. So some people might want to go to the splash pad. Some people might want to stay in bed and snuggle with their dog all day, and that is okay. And I think, again, there's pressure that we put on ourselves that we need to go and do something, but it's whatever you feel like you need to do that day. You're going to have a different type of response. Your body's going to have a different type of response. And so really I want the community to know that whatever they want to do that day is perfectly fine. There's no pressure to do something or to not do something, and that they can embrace that and really just do what you need to do that day. I think that is the biggest message. So if there's community members that want to go out and do something or put ribbons up, then they should do that. But if you don't want to, that's okay.
Yeah. I completely want to echo everything that Jamie just said, but just to build on it, when we do realize that we're ready for change, for growth, it doesn't have to look the same way as the person next to us. And so my thoughts for the community is the only fair comparison for how I'm doing is just previous versions of me. I don't get to look across the street or to my best friend or to my spouse and see, well, this person is so much further along than me, and it creates this gap. and it changes our understanding of what growth and healing looks like, all I get to do is look at, okay, how was I doing this time last month? Or this time 5 hours ago, 5 years ago? And so that kind of can help alleviate some of the pressure. That said, when we do realize that maybe help is needed, there's a lot of different pathways that didn't exist when many of us were coming up. 988 is a number that anybody can call. For those unaware, suicide and crisis helpline. You don't even have to provide your name, you just talk. And if at the end of that conversation there's resources or supports they can direct you to, they will. There's also, if you're here in Oakland County, which I imagine many listeners would, you just have to show up. And that can be literally in person to a place like Common Ground over in Pontiac. It could also be virtually by phone to the Resource and Crisis Hub, which is, I think I need to talk to somebody, but I'm not really sure what that looks like yet. Yeah. Maybe you can point me in the right direction. And just knowing that those services exist, even if I choose not to call or to show up, can be really comforting to know that if and when I feel ready, the help is out there.
Yeah, that's, I think, is probably one of the big takeaways from going through this whole situation, is that there are a lot of resources out there that I wasn't aware of in the past. You two represent some of the best of those resources. Thank you for all that you've invested in our community, and I know the coming weeks and months will be challenging, but to know that you're here and free and available for the residents is awesome. You know, we end every podcast with the same question. You did not get this one in advance, so there's no prep for it. I'll start with you, Dr. Phillip. So I'll give you a little minute to think about it. If you could have lunch or dinner with any person, alive or past, 2 questions, who would it be and where would you go?
Oh, wow. Alive or dead, anywhere. I think I would have liked to see that on the notes. There's so many different options you can take. I'm a psychologist through and through. One of my rock stars in the field is Carl Jung, and while we might have to get over a language barrier because I don't speak German, I would have just loved to just listen. And I don't know if I would have anything to offer the conversation, but just somebody I really admire, and like I find hope and strength through those kind of professional rock stars. And I think it would be funny to just have pizza.
Perfect.
Comfort food with potentially very uncomforting conversation.
That's a good one. Great answer. Jamie?
I would probably like to have lunch or dinner with my grandfather. And just really, he died when I was pretty young. And so I would just like to have a conversation with him now that I'm an adult. And honestly, I would just love to have a picnic. So maybe just get some sandwiches from somewhere downtown here and just go to the park and talk.
Well, that's great. Well, we appreciate your time today. Thank you both for what you do, not just here today, but throughout the community, throughout Oakland County. It is sincerely appreciated. And we remind all of our listeners and viewers that it is Mental Health Month in the month of May. We encourage you to look at some of the resources that are available. We've talked about some of the phone numbers that are available, some of the websites that offer great information, easy to access, confidentiality respected, but make sure you're doing that self-care that is just as important as the exercising and the eating well. That mental component of it is just such an important part for overall well-being. As always, we thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with another exciting episode of Right Down the Street in the near future. Until then, thanks for watching Rochester Hills, and we'll see you real soon. God bless.